The moment 28-year-old Alex Turner walked onto the voice stage, something felt different. Not because of his appearance, though his tall frame and nervous energy were evident under the bright studio lights, but because of the weight he carried, an invisible burden that seemed to press down on his shoulders with every step. He moved slowly, deliberately, as if each movement required conscious effort, as if the simple act of being there took every ounce of strength he possessed. What nobody in that studio knew was that Alex wasn't supposed to be there alone, and what was about to happen would prove that some dreams are so powerful they transcend even death itself. Hidden in the shadows backstage, the voice production team had prepared something that would either heal Alex's broken heart or shatter it completely. They had no way of knowing which way it would go, but they knew that sometimes the most powerful moments in television happen when raw human emotion meets unexpected grace. Let me take you back to understand how Alex got to this moment, because his journey to the voice stage was paved with loss so profound it had nearly destroyed him. Alex Turner had a younger brother named Jamie. Jamie had been born with Down syndrome when Alex was 6 years old, and from the moment his little brother came home from the hospital, Alex had appointed himself as Jamie's protector, his translator to a world that didn't always understand Jamie's different way of experiencing life. Jamie wasn't just Alex's brother, he was his best friend, his biggest supporter, his reminder that love didn't require perfection to be pure. For 22 years, Jamie had been the light of their family, the person who could make anyone smile just by walking into a room, whose enthusiasm for life was infectious even when his intellectual abilities made simple tasks challenging. Music had been their shared language since Jamie's childhood. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, Alex had discovered early that while Jamie struggled with many things that came easily to other children, he had an intuitive connection to music that seemed to bypass all his cognitive limitations. Jamie couldn't read music, couldn't play instruments with any technical skill, but he could feel rhythm in ways that amazed everyone who witnessed it. "Jamie, music," Jamie would say in his characteristic speech pattern whenever Alex picked up his guitar, clapping his hands and swaying in the chair where he spent most of his time due to the heart condition that often accompanies Down syndrome. "Alex, sing." Jamie, sing too. Alex had started performing locally, partly because of Jamie's reaction to his music. Watching his brother's face light up when he sang, seeing Jamie attempt to harmonize in his own unique way, understanding that music was one of the few things that made Jamie feel completely included in a world that often overlooked him. It had given Alex's musical ambitions a purpose beyond personal success. The Turner brothers, as their family jokingly called them, had dreams that extended far beyond their small town. Alex had been planning to audition for The Voice, hoping to use any success he might achieve to bring awareness to Down syndrome and to show the world what unconditional love looked like through Jamie's example. Jamie had been thrilled about the prospect, practicing his singing and telling everyone who would listen that his brother Alex was going to be on television. Everything changed on a cold Tuesday morning in February. Jamie's heart condition, which had been monitored his entire life but had remained stable for years, suddenly worsened during the night. Alex woke up to find Jamie unconscious in his bed, his breathing labored, his face a concerning shade of blue. The ambulance ride to the hospital was a blur of sirens and medical personnel working frantically to stabilize Jamie's failing heart. Jamie died 3 hours later in the hospital, surrounded by family who sang softly to him as his heart finally gave up its fight. His last words, whispered to Alex while holding his hand, had been, "Alex, sing. Jamie, listen. Always listen." Alex's world didn't just change that morning, it ended. His little brother was gone, taking with him not just Alex's heart, but his reason for pursuing music, his motivation for dreaming big, his understanding of what unconditional love looked like in practice. The voice audition that was supposed to represent their shared dream of spreading awareness and love was automatically canceled. How could Alex pursue something that had been about Jamie when Jamie would never get to see the results? For months, Alex couldn't even look at his guitar, let alone play it. The silence in their family home, where Jamie's chair still sat empty in the living room, where his pictures covered every surface, where his presence could still be felt in every corner, was deafening. Well-meaning friends and family members encouraged Alex to keep playing, to honor Jamie's memory through music, but Alex couldn't see how music could exist in a world without Jamie's enthusiastic, off-key singing along. The turning point came on what would have been Jamie's 23rd birthday. Alex was sitting in Jamie's room, holding one of the many recordings he'd made of them singing together, when his phone rang. It was a producer from The Voice, calling to ask if he would consider auditioning as a solo artist. Apparently, Alex's original audition video had included footage of Jamie in the background, and the producers had been moved by the obvious love between the brothers. "I can't," Alex had told the producer, his voice breaking. "Jamie was the reason I wanted to do this. He was my inspiration, my biggest fan, my reminder of why music matters. Without Jamie there to cheer me on, it doesn't feel worth it." But that night, Alex had dreamed of Jamie. He saw his brother sitting in his favorite chair, wearing the Voice t-shirt Alex had bought him in anticipation of the audition, clapping his hands and rocking back and forth in the way he did when he was extremely happy. "Alex, sing," Jamie said in the dream, using his characteristic enthusiastic tone. "Jamie proud. Alex famous. Tell people Jamie love. Tell people Down syndrome good. Alex sing for Jamie." Alex woke up with tears on his cheeks, and Jamie's voice still echoing in his mind. He called the Voice back and accepted the audition. Standing on the stage now, Alex felt the crushing weight of representing not just his own grief, but Jamie's memory, their family's love, and the entire Down syndrome community that Jamie had unconsciously advocated for simply by being himself. The bright lights seemed harsh without Jamie in the audience to wave excitedly at him. The stage felt enormous without his brother's presence to make him feel like he could do anything as long as Jamie believed in him. Blake Shelton, Kelly Clarkson, John Legend, and Niall Horan sat in their red chairs, their backs turned, waiting to judge him solely on the merit of his voice. None of them knew his story yet, knew about the empty chair in his family's living room where Jamie should have been sitting to watch this moment, knew that every note he was about to sing carried the weight of a brother's pure, unconditional love. "Whenever you're ready," Blake called out encouragingly, his voice carrying that familiar warmth that somehow reminded Alex of the patience and kindness that Jamie had brought out in everyone who knew him. Alex stepped up to the microphone, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted it. He had chosen "You Raise Me Up," the song that Jamie had loved to hear Alex sing, a song that now felt like a prayer, a bridge between this world and whatever came after. He began to sing, and his voice, rich, soulful, carrying the weight of profound loss but also profound love, filled the studio with an authenticity that couldn't be manufactured. This wasn't just a performance, this was a conversation with someone who couldn't answer back, but whose love had shaped every note, a tribute to the purest form of support Alex had ever known. "When I am down and, oh my soul, so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be." As Alex reached the chorus, something extraordinary happened. The Voice production team, in a moment of inspired compassion, began displaying a large screen behind the coaches, showing photos and videos of Alex and Jamie together. Jamie clapping enthusiastically at Alex's local performances, the brothers singing together in their living room, Jamie wearing his Voice t-shirt and practicing his applause for Alex's audition. Jamie's face filled the screen, radiant with the kind of joy that only comes from loving someone completely without reservation. Alex saw the screen and stopped singing mid-note. The sight of his brother's face, larger than life behind the coaches, showing Jamie's characteristic Down syndrome features, but radiating such pure happiness, was more than his carefully constructed composure could handle. He broke down completely, falling to his knees on the stage, sobbing with the kind of grief that comes from losing someone whose love was so pure it redefined what love meant. "He was supposed to be here with me," Alex cried, his voice echoing through the silent studio. "He was my biggest fan. He couldn't sing perfectly, but he sang with his whole heart. He always believed I'd be famous someday. He was so excited about this audition, he practiced clapping for weeks. The studio fell into the kind of silence that happens when everyone realizes they're witnessing something sacred, something too profound for applause or commentary. This wasn't just a nervous contestant having stage fright. This was a man mourning the loss of the purest love he'd ever known, trying to honor someone whose enthusiasm had made every dream feel possible. Blake Shelton felt something he'd never experienced in all his years of coaching. Without thinking, without consulting anyone, without following any protocol, he was out of his chair and vaulting over the barrier that separated the coaches from the stage. His cowboy boots hit the polished floor with purpose as he ran toward Alex. "Hey, brother," Blake said softly as he reached the broken man on the stage. "I'm here. Talk to me." Alex looked up through his tears, seeing this tall country star kneeling beside him with an expression of pure compassion. He had Down syndrome, but he loved music more than anyone I've ever known. He couldn't understand a lot of things, but he understood love. He understood how to make other people feel special. And now he's gone, and I don't know how to sing without hearing him trying to sing along. Blake's own eyes filled with tears as he truly understood what he was witnessing. "Alex, what's your brother's name?" Jamie Turner. He was perfect. Not perfect like the world expects people to be, but perfect in every way that actually matters. Alex's voice broke again. Blake looked up at the screen, still showing Jamie's joyful face, then back at Alex. "Alex, I want you to look at that screen. Look at your brother's face. Does he look like someone whose love could ever be gone? Does he look like someone who would want you to give up on the dream he was so excited about?" Alex wiped his eyes and looked at the screen where Jamie's image beamed down at them with characteristic Down syndrome features and unbridled joy. "No, he'd be mad if I stopped singing. He'd say, 'Alex, sing.' Jamie proud. He always said that when I got sad about anything." Blake smiled through his own tears. "Then let's not disappoint him. But Alex, I want you to understand something. You're not singing alone up here. Every time Jamie clapped for you, every moment he made you feel like a star just by believing in you, every bit of love he put in your heart, that's all still here with you. He's not gone, brother. He's just cheering from a different place. But this is the moment no one in the studio and no one watching at home ever saw coming." Blake stood up and addressed the entire studio, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had spent decades understanding what real love looked like when it was expressed without condition. "Ladies and gentlemen, this young man just showed us something that most people never have the courage to show. He showed us what it looks like to be loved completely, without judgment, without condition, by someone who saw only the good in him every single day." He turned back to Alex, his voice gentle but strong. "Now, Alex, I want you to get up. I want you to look at that picture of your brother, and I want you to finish this song. Not just for yourself, but for Jamie. Show him that the love he gave you is still making beautiful things happen. Show him that his belief in you was right all along." Alex stood up slowly, wiping his face, looking at Jamie's image on the screen. "I don't know if I can make him proud enough." "Son, you already have," Blake said firmly. "Look around you." He gestured to the other coaches, who had all turned their chairs and were watching with expressions of support and deep emotion. Kelly Clarkson was crying openly. John Legend had his hand over his heart. Niall was leaning forward with the kind of attention that showed he understood something profound was happening. "And more than that," Blake continued, "Jamie's here. I can feel his excitement. Every person in this studio can feel how proud he is right now. He's not waiting to be proud of you, Alex. He's already prouder than any brother has ever been. Now sing with that knowledge. Sing knowing that Jamie Turner's brother is exactly who he always believed you were." Alex walked back to the microphone, looked up at the screen where Jamie's face radiated pure joy, and began to sing again. But this time, something magical happened. As Alex sang, it was as if Jamie's enthusiastic and perfect harmonizing joined his voice, not audibly, but spiritually, emotionally, in the way that only brothers who had shared unconditional love could connect. The song became a duet between the living and the dead, between perfection and pure heart, between loss and the kind of love that makes loss bearable. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. When Alex hit the final note, his voice soaring with both grief and gratitude, the studio erupted. All four coaches hit their buttons simultaneously. But this wasn't about competition anymore. This was about honoring pure love, celebrating the bonds that transcend intellectual differences and even death, and recognizing that some performances are bigger than any television show. Blake was already walking back toward Alex before the other chairs had finished turning. When he reached him, he pulled him into a hug that lasted longer than any embrace in voice history. "Alex," Blake said, his voice thick with emotion, "that was one of the most powerful things I've ever witnessed. You didn't just sing that song, you sang it with your brother. You showed everyone in this room what unconditional love looks like, what it sounds like when someone believes in you completely." Kelly Clarkson, herself moved beyond words, spoke through her tears. "Alex, I could feel Jamie's presence in every note you sang. You honored him. You honored the love you shared. And you showed us all what it means to be loved without condition." John Legend added, "That wasn't just a performance, Alex. That was a testament to the power of pure love to transcend any limitation, any difference, even death itself." Niall, clearly emotional, said simply, "Your brother was here, Alex. We all felt his joy, his pride, his love, and he's so happy watching you shine." Alex chose Team Blake, not just because Blake had been the first to help him, but because he recognized in the country star someone who understood that the best music comes from the purest love, someone who knew that some bonds are so strong that not even death can break them. Over the following weeks, Blake became more than Alex's coach. He became his friend, his support system, and his reminder that carrying Jamie's memory wasn't a burden. It was a gift. Blake helped Alex understand that he wasn't trying to prove Jamie's faith in him was justified. Jamie's love had never been conditional on Alex's success. "Working with Alex changed my perspective on everything," Blake said in an interview during the live shows. "He reminded me that the most powerful music comes from the purest love, and that sometimes the most beautiful support comes from hearts that love without condition, without expectation, without reservation." Alex's journey through the competition became a masterclass in love, loss, and the power of unconditional acceptance to inspire greatness. His version of "What a Wonderful World" brought the studio to its feet. His duet with Blake on "Count on Me" showcased his ability to channel love into art that touched everyone who heard it. Each performance was a love letter to Jamie, a way of showing the world what Down syndrome advocacy looked like when it was motivated by pure love rather than pity. During the finale, Alex performed an original song he had written for Jamie, called "Perfect Heart," as he sang about loving someone exactly as they are, about finding joy in simple moments, about the way pure love can change how you see the entire world. There wasn't a dry eye in the studio. The screen behind him showed home videos of Jamie clapping at Alex's performances, his face radiating the kind of happiness that comes from loving someone completely. Alex finished second in the competition, but his real victory was already achieved. He had shown millions of viewers that Down syndrome doesn't diminish the capacity for love, that some of the purest hearts come in packages the world might overlook, and that the most beautiful music comes from voices shaped by unconditional acceptance. In his final performance speech, Alex's words were clear and strong. "This has been for Jamie from the very beginning. He taught me that love doesn't require perfection, that joy comes from celebrating people exactly as they are, and that the most beautiful support comes from hearts that see only good in the people they love." Blake stood behind him throughout his speech, his hand on Alex's shoulder, tears streaming down his face as this 28-year-old man taught the world a lesson about unconditional love, acceptance, and the power of music to honor those who love us completely. Today, Alex performs throughout the country, always with Jamie's picture displayed beside him on stage. He started a foundation for families affected by Down syndrome, using music therapy to help build connections and celebrate the unique gifts that come with intellectual differences. The Voice t-shirt that Jamie never got to wear to Alex's audition now travels with Alex to every performance, a reminder that some love is so pure it transcends every limitation, every difference, every barrier that the world might construct. Blake Shelton learned something that night that changed his understanding of music forever. Alex taught me that the most powerful performances aren't just about technical skill. Sometimes they're about carrying forward the purest love you've ever known, about honoring someone whose faith in you never wavered, about understanding that the most beautiful music comes from hearts that have been shaped by unconditional acceptance. Because sometimes the most beautiful support comes from the most unexpected sources. Sometimes the purest love comes from hearts that the world might overlook. And sometimes a brother singing alone can teach us all what it means to be loved completely, without condition, without reservation, with a kind of pure heart that makes every dream feel possible. Alex Turner proved that The Voice isn't just about individual talent, it's about the love that shapes us, the acceptance that sustains us, and the understanding that some bonds are so pure they continue to inspire long after the person who created them is gone. His brother Jamie may not have gotten to sit in that audience and clap for Alex's performance, but his presence filled every note, proving that some love is eternal and some hearts are so pure they continue to cheer us on forever.